Welcome to the fifth video in our free video series on staying focused and getting rid of frustration at work, brought to you by Schedule Focus. I'm your host, Mac. In our first video, we learned from Stephen King that the secret to being productive at work is getting your process right. In the second video, we learned that however bad you think interruptions are for productivity, they are way worse than that. In the third video, we talked about creators and coordinators, and about how, despite their best intentions, coordinators interrupt creators, which keeps creators from getting work done, which makes coordinators stressed because of missed deadlines, which causes yet more interruptions in a doom loop. In the fourth video, we saw how some creators, like Stephen King and Paul Graham of Y Combinator, use an office hours approach that enables them to unlock super levels of creative focus and productivity. But we also saw how that approach, while amazing, is too rigid for the vast majority of people who need to be able to have both a productive and flexible schedule. In this video, we're going to talk about an easy, three-step approach that builds off the factory examples we've seen in the last two videos to create a flexible, focused solution. In the factory, we saw that planners schedule work for each machine. By doing this, they can minimize interruptions and hit deadlines. We're going to do the same thing for you. We're going to put your to-do list on your calendar. The key insight is to assign each of your to-do list items three things. The first two are straightforward, and the third is a little subtle. Number one, a deadline. When does this task need to be done? Number two, an estimate. The amount of time it will take to complete this task. And number three, a block of time. This is the amount of uninterrupted time you need each time you work on this task. We talked earlier about how interruptions are bad. The most important single thing to do in order to fend off interruptions is to state ahead of time how much uninterrupted time you need to make progress on a given task. Notice too that this amount of uninterrupted time is different from the total amount of time it takes to complete the task. Think about Stephen King for a minute. Writing a 300-page book takes King about 200 hours. But obviously he doesn't need or want 200 straight hours of uninterrupted time. Even Stephen King needs to sleep sometimes. So let's go through the exercise for an item on Stephen King's to-do list. Let's pretend that he's going to sit down to write one of his most famous books, Misery. First, we need a deadline. Let's put that 3 months from now. Misery clocks in at 320 pages, so for King, that's roughly 212 hours of work. And last, we need the amount of uninterrupted time we need each time we work on this task. For King, that's 4 hours of creative, focused time each time. That's how he gets his 6 pages a day. Different tasks will have different answers to these questions, of course. But for Stephen King, this is what we've got. Now we have what we need to put this work on our calendar. We'll divide 212 hours of work into 4-hour chunks. That's 53 4-hour chunks of focused creative time. Then we'll put those 53 4-hour blocks onto our calendar in order to hold the time we need to write Misery. If we can find time on our calendar for those 53 4-hour chunks in the 60 working days between now and 3 months from now, then we can be confident that we'll hit our deadline. Now at this point you might say to yourself, wait a minute, I'm not Stephen King. My tasks don't take nearly as much time. And that's fair enough. If we've got a task that's going to take 6 hours, say we're drafting a client presentation that needs to be done by the end of the week, and we want 2 hours of focused time each time we work on it, we can do exactly the same thing we did for Misery. If we layer in the 3 2-hour blocks of focused time on our calendar, we can get the time to work on this task and be confident that we'll hit the deadline. Notice too that anyone else who is looking at our calendar can also be confident that we'll hit the deadline because they can see that we're reserving enough time to get the work done. And they can see when we'll be done with that work, all without needing to schedule a status meeting. Fine, you say. I can see the value of that. But who has time to manage their calendar this way? This seems like a lot of adding blocks of time to the calendar, and then what on earth do I do if my estimate of the amount of time I need for the task changes, or I need to move things around? Seems like I would spend more time managing my calendar than actually doing my work. And isn't that what we're trying to avoid? Well, this is a case where we just need the right tool for the job: Schedule Focus. Schedule Focus gives you a way to manage your existing Outlook and Google calendars so you can easily put your to-do items on your calendar in just a few clicks. And if your deadline changes, you find out the task is going to take longer than you thought, or you need longer blocks of focus time to work on the task, you can make changes quickly and easily. These tools are free for individual use, and there are very affordable plans when your whole team wants to use Schedule Focus to manage projects, hit deadlines, and see when there's time for new projects. You can check it out anytime at schedulefocus.com. So, we've got a 3-step system to get the focused creative time we need. For each task, we will set a deadline, an estimate, and a block of time. And we have a set of tools to make it easy to put those blocks of time on our existing calendar and manage them as things change. Next time, we're going to look at the strategic impact all this has on your work and your organization. With the right tools, the approach we've outlined here can seem like a simple change to make, but it has a profound effect on your ability to make an impact.